Jagdeo says no to fuel subsidies. Cop accused of stealing weed. ExxonMobil Guyana makes first profit. And Walter Rodney, an unsung Guyanese hero. I am Enrico Bulford, and this is Uncut News. Do you see news happening? Send us a tip on WhatsApp at 592-659-6151. Jagdeo shot down Norton's proposed gas subsidy, decrying it as cake shop economics. Norton specifically recommended that the government should ensure gas prices do not increase above a determined level by compensating suppliers for any price increases where the excise tax reductions have already been exhausted, in order to help reduce prices across a wide basket of goods, thereby easing the cost of living crisis, as obviously oil affects the price of everything. Well, Jagdeo claimed that Norton did not say how the gas subsidy would even work, and wholly discredited the idea. Meanwhile, the government has been distributing billions, printing millions more, throwing billions into huge infrastructure projects, subsidizing electricity, water, and a failed sugar industry, and slashed billions in taxes for people who owe millions in taxes, all the while not increasing the private sector minimum wage, nor increasing the tax threshold for public sector employees. But hey, the fuel subsidy is apparently a bridge too far. On another note, Jagdeo has now confirmed that the government is likely to fund both the establishment of the natural gas liquid plant and the accompanying power plant at Wales. Both plants, in addition to approximately 250 kilometers of subsurface pipeline, form the Wales Gas to Energy project. With the current administration and even regional economists backing this project, Jagdeo noted that the government plans to spend big here. Estimates for the pipeline are pegged to be about $1 billion, but the actual cost for the pipeline and the plant will soon be known, as the projects will soon go to tender. Jagdeo also said the gas transported from offshore will be free for the nation to use. As such, the government will only be paying the costs associated with the pipeline and the plants themselves. Now it's time to tell you about Best Buy's Car of the Week. Currently on sale, this is 2016 Suzuki Jimmy Sierra 4-wheel drive. It comes with regular and low-range 4-wheel drive, Bluetooth mugrams, new tires, TV, CD, stereo, fog lamps, back camera, and much, much more. Buy cash for $3.4 million. Or pay as low as $700,000 down with around $67,000 monthly for 5 years, and it is yours. Call or WhatsApp 662-0844 for more info. Or visit the showrooms at Lot 171 Peter Street, Queenstown, or Lot 2 Lamar Street, and tell them America sent you for this sweet deal. Patients will now be able to take the theoretical driver's examinations online. The exams were facilitated using the Zora computer centers located at the New Amsterdam and Adventure police stations. The GPF first rolled out the online examinations last April in Georgetown. Preliminary results will now become available within seconds of the submission of the exams. The National Milling Company of Guyana, aka Namilco, is the latest company to be granted certification to use the Made in Guyana certification mark on its Thunderbolt and Made Marion self-rising flour. Acting Executive Director for the GNBS, Ramrati Karan, said the standards body is pleased to support Namilco coming on board the Standards Mark program. Although I do find it odd that they're even receiving such a seal, seeing as they are merely a flour mill, which is actually a local subsidiary of a larger American company named Seaboard International. But hey, weirder things than that happen in Guyana every day. Speaking of weird things happening in Guyana, Police Detective Sergeant Fernando Newman of the Criminal Investigations Department was charged on Wednesday with larceny by a public officer. According to the charge, he stole more than 3 kilograms of marijuana following a drug bust along the Linden-Soestdijk Highway in February of last year. Instead of lodging it as evidence, he supposedly took it and held on to it until he was eventually busted 6 months later by Soku with said weed. Newman pleaded not guilty to the charge and was released on $100,000 bail. He will be back in court in July. For the best crotch in Guyana, wait, that should read, for all sizes of clutch disc and pressure plates for heavy-duty trucks in Guyana, check out Powder Automotive. Get this and other high-quality truck parts at the lowest prices. Visit them at Lot 1161 EE Eccles, or call them on telephone number 697-0171. Save big on truck parts at Powder Automotive, the #1 heavy-duty truck parts store in Guyana. Through a recently launched initiative, the government is spending at least $5 billion Guyana dollars to hire 10,000 Guyanese for part-time work for $40,000 each. They will all be hired by next year. The program is intended to supplement household income levels in response to the spike in prices. The government has also removed several taxes with the same aim. But seeing as they didn't say for how long the program would go on for, there's technically billions left over to possibly allocate to other relief measures. Now for today's oil update. ExxonMobil announced yesterday that in 2021, it recorded $132 billion Guyana dollars in profits following earnings of $254 billion. $132 billion Ghana dollars is around $631.9 million US dollars. This is its first profit since it began operations in Ghana in 1999. Remember, they only started producing oil in December of 2019, after the first discovery was made in 2015. Exxon said that together with its partners, they have already spent more than 3 trillion Ghana dollars in the local market, and that comes to around 14.4 billion US dollars. Well, you gotta spend money to make money, I guess. On a related note, the government is currently in talks with CGX Energy to arrange for larger sections of the Demerara and Quarantine blocks to potentially go to auction in September. According to Jagdeo, the company has met its obligations. However, when asked what CGX would be getting out of this deal, he said that this is being done with the blocks that are already relinquished. He also noted that a further extension for CGX to complete its work plan has not been discussed. It might not be robbery season, but the streets are still mean. That's why you need to get security for your home and business through Sheriff Security Service. Sheriff Security offers well-trained guards, armed and unarmed patrol, marine patrol, canine services. These people even got drones. Why? Because your security is their highest priority. You've seen the rest, now hire the best. Hire Sheriff Security Service today. In lieu of a stupid news, I am sharing a short history of the life of Dr. Walter Anthony Rodney. So prepare to learn something, because I really did do some work on this and I told you I was going to share it with you. Dr. Walter Anthony Rodney was born in Georgetown on March 23, 1942. He was the second child of 5 siblings. Rodney's father was a member of the PPP, when it was actually still a Marxist vanguard party that was leading the struggle against British rule. With this early immersion into politics, Walter's awareness of the working class struggle began at a young age. After graduating at the top of his class at QC in 1960, he was awarded a scholarship to the University of the West Indies, Jamaica, where he graduated with first-class honors in history in 1963. Rodney then attended the prestigious School of Oriental and African Studies at London University, where he earned his PhD with honors in African history at 24 years old. He wrote many books, with one of his most well-known ones being How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, and Groundings with My Brothers, which was actually a collection of lectures to the working class of Jamaica. Though Rodney lived with constant police harassment and frequent threats against his life, he nonetheless managed to complete 4 books in the last year of his life alone: an academic work, A History of the Guyanese Working Class People from 1881 to 1905, a political call to action, People's Power, No Dictator, and 2 children's books, Kofi Badu Out of Africa and Lakshmi Out of India. Rodney's academic record is also filled with awards, open scholarships, and honors of various sorts. In July of 1966, Rodney left London for his first teaching post at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. And a few years later, he began teaching at the University of the West Indies back in Jamaica. Influenced by the Black Power movement in the US, Third World Revolutionaries, and Marxist theory, Rodney began to actively challenge the status quo in Jamaica. Unlike his counterparts, Rodney involved the working class in this dialogue, including the Rastafarians. His work angered the Jamaican government, who banned him from re-entering the country in 1968 when he had actually left for a short conference in Canada. This decision sparked widespread student and civil unrest throughout the Caribbean, Tanzania, Canada, and London. From 1966 to 1974, he returned to lecture at the University of Dar es Salaam. Then in 1974, Walter Rodney returned to Ghana to take up a job at UG. But Burnham rescinded the appointment as he feared Rodney, which is why Rodney remained in Ghana and joined the newly formed political group, the Working People's Alliance. Over the next 5 years, he emerged as the leading figure in the resistance movement against the increasingly authoritarian PNC government. During this period, he developed his ideas on the self-emancipation of the working people, people's power, and multiracial democracy. He offered people a solution that went beyond the typical race-based dichotomy that the PNC and the PPP came to typify at that point. As the WPA gained popularity and momentum, the PNC began a campaign of harassment, including police raids, house searches, beatings, and state-sanctioned killings. On July 11, 1979, Walter and several other WPA members were arrested and falsely accused of burning down a government building. But without proof and intense international pressure, the government dropped the charges. Unfortunately, the state-sanctioned violence and persecution only intensified, with the police killing 2 WPA members shortly after. However, the violence came to a head on Friday, June 13, 1980. While traveling in his car with his younger brother Donald, Walter Anthony Rodney was assassinated by a bomb hidden in a walkie-talkie that was given to him by an officer of the GDF. He was 38 years old. Donald Rodney actually survived to become the only living witness of this state-sponsored assassination. However, before the explosion had even happened, the Burnham administration had already attempted to hide their involvement, including lying about the circumstances of Rodney's death and even giving the alleged assassin safe passage out of Guyana. Over 40 years later, on June 10, 2021, the current PPP government accepted the report of the Commission of Inquiry concluding that Dr. Walter Anthony Rodney was assassinated by the agents of the state with the full knowledge of then-President Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, thus bringing justice, finally, for the Rodney family. And that is the story of Dr. Walter Anthony Rodney. So, with that being said, we move on to tonight's Uncut News Viewers Poll question of the day. Every day we pose a question about current events in Ghana, the region, the diaspora, and how you feel it relates to us. Yesterday we asked how inflation is affecting your pocket. The realist one says, well, inflation was a blessing in disguise for me. I stopped buying cigarettes, and now I'm smoke-free. That's great! Not only are you saving money, but you're also saving your own life, so I'm proud of you for making the decision to quit. Ganesh Prasad also had a positive viewpoint, saying that the inflation is a way that we can start supporting local producers instead of foreign import. Many persons would have had to already cut back on budget allocations, but at the same time, it helps us to start buying unnecessary things. Guyanese need to stop being too foreign-minded and start buying local produces. I agree. And honestly, it's this buy consumerist culture that is killing us as a human race altogether. And finally, Bantu King says, my budgetary plan is to have no budget. I have no money to weigh against my needs. Well, that's one way of doing it. Before we get to tonight's question, you can multiply your cash by selling Digicel Top-Up. This is a legit way you can earn some money at your business or to supplement your current hustle. Become a top-up vendor quick and easy by linking with Cellular Plus. Call them on telephone number 685-3109 for more info. Now for tonight's question. I know it was actually requested that we speak about Dr. Walter Rodney, but I want to know, would you actually like to see that as a more permanent fixture on the show where we profile historical figures? I want you to think about that question. Tell us in the comments below. If your response is good enough, we just might feature it in our next episode. Anyway, that's all the time we have for tonight, and check us out tomorrow for another. Until then, I'm Rico Bulford saying good night, folks.